Hey everybody, welcome back to the Storytime channel. My name is Steven, and let's get into our stories of the day. Every day we wear black. As a lifetime service industry employee, it's pretty typical to wear black as a uniform. Black blouse, black slacks or jeans, black dresses, and black shoes. As a makeup artist for Paul Mitchell, we must also wear black as a uniform for, well, uniformity. But also as to not cast colors onto anything or anyone being worked on, especially on a set. Working in a medi-spa meant scrubs, and much to my utter shock and surprise, they too wear black. I bet you can see where this might be going. I wear black practically every day from head to toe, but trendily or fashionably as to look less emo and goth and more stylish, or possibly a very angsty witch. Think AHS Coven. So there I was, elbows deep in a cart full of colorful clothes, spiraling deeply into an abyss of color possibilities. Blue goes with black, white goes with black, red goes with black. I'm 6'3", so I have to try everything on, and I'm near the dressing room, about to try on my first haul, when I get yelled at. "Excuse me," some crotchety old voice says to nobody in particular. "Excuse me, could you put that down and open a register?" I hope someone helps her, her voice is grating. "Excuse me, you're needed over here." I look up from my rainbow clothing vomit spilling out of my tiny cart to see several women looking at me, then back at the woman talking. Surely she's not talking to me. "I can't believe she just ignored me. Excuse me, are you deaf? Open a register, the line is too long." Surely she does mean me, and I can't believe she'd talk to an employee like that. Wait, yes I can. I look back up and an actual employee asks me if I need anything, probably wondering why this woman is demanding I open a register, like I have some kind of superpower that gives me permission to do whatever I want. "I think that woman thinks I work here," I tell the employee. "I know, I've been watching her get mad from behind the fitting room. I can't open a register unless the manager asks us to. There's only 3 of us today, so I doubt she'll do that." The yelling woman sees us and gets pissed. She storms over and, being about 5'4", picks the short staffer to assault. "I've been waiting in line for 20 minutes. Actually like 5. Telling your staff to open a register and she's just been ignoring me. I want to speak to your manager." Finally, the employee breaks down and says, "Ma'am, she does not work here. I don't know what gave you that impression, since she's not wearing a lanyard or anything with our logo on it. She doesn't have the authority to open a register as she's not employed here." I joke and say, "Every POS is the same. Horrible." To which screamy Karen loses her shoot and says, "I'm telling your manager you called me a piece of shoot. You're going to lose your job." The employee is about to laugh, but obviously trying not to, and instead has a huge smile and says, "Ma'am, hello, hi, she doesn't work here." A POS is point of sale, which is what we call the register. "You don't even work here? Then why are you dressed like that? Why didn't you say so?" "Because that isn't my job either." She lost her place in line and had to wait longer. I tried on my cart of clothes and found many things that go with black. This isn't the first or last time I've been accused of being employed somewhere, but definitely one of the more fun, less scary incidents. I typically get mistaken for management or a cop. Halfway through reading that story, I realized that my crotchety old lady voice kind of was a bad Frieza impression from Dragon Ball, but I had to commit to it once I started it. Had to tell an ex-employer, "I don't work for you," 3 years after quitting. So I worked for a home care agency and was assigned to an independent living facility. Mostly just med reminders and housekeeping. The company I worked for was shady as freak. So much happened, I'm surprised I stayed as long as I did, but I'll stick to what was relevant here. This may be long. So cliff notes. They cut my hours on days/evenings to the point I lost my benefits. I took the full-time nights posting. It was just me and one other girl switching off 12-hour nights, 4 days one week, 3 the next, 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. It was great and I loved it. Work was easy and I still got to see my residents. I usually got there at 10:30 p.m. to get reports from the evening worker so she could leave by 11. My duties all night were get report, sign out keys, organize that day's paperwork, set the dining room for the next day, do like 4 people's laundry, had access to 5 washers and 5 dryers, and do room checks on like 10 people every 2 hours. Pop my head in and make sure they weren't on the floor, and answer any emergency pages. Everything but checks and pages were done by 3 a.m., sometimes 2 a.m. Well, they hired a guy and decided to give him 2 of my shifts and 2 of the other girls' shifts. I was in charge of training him and had to sign off before he worked independently. I wasn't impressed, but said fine. First shift, he shows up at 4 a.m. Shift starts at 11, work's now done, go home. Next shift, 7 a.m. he comes in, same thing. Next 2 were no-shows. Then finally showed up. He was awful. I started looking for another job and found one quickly. I tried for 4 days to hand in my 2-week resignation. Supervisor isn't available, office is locked, on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. So I dropped it in their mailbox, and when they called me, I told them the date stated would be my last day. Fast forward 2 weeks. I get a call to go in. I explain I quit, why I quit, and that I don't work for the company anymore. Repeat this sporadically over the next 2.5 years. I got calls at all hours. I called the area coordinator, the regional coordinator, always being assured it won't happen again. My final straw was a 4 a.m. phone call 3 years after I quit from the after-hours scheduler. Lost my shoot. Called corporate and made them delete my number and file and told them, I haven't worked for you for 3 freaking years. The lack of having any schedule should have been a freaking clue. Your company calls me again and I'll file harassment charges. Figure your freaking shoot out and stop freaking calling me. I don't work for you, and hung up. Been a year now and I think it finally worked. Edit. Since this is being asked a lot in the comments, I rocked a flip phone at the time and am severely technologically challenged and had no idea how to block the numbers. If you quit your job, and over the next 3 years they kept calling you trying to schedule a shift, what would you have done? Let me know in the comment section down below. Computing like it's 1999. Just discovered the sub, so the story is pretty old. I had just graduated high school and was browsing in-store for computer parts that I knew my grandma would buy as a graduation gift or for college. I had been programming professionally for a couple years and knew my way around the block. This lady comes up to me and asks, "Do I need this?" Holds up a wireless router. I'm not opposed to helping people out, so I asked, "Did you get internet recently?" She says yes. Was the cable black? Coax F-type, not included on the router in hand. Or some other color? Ethernet cable. I think it was black. We head over to the routers, point at connectors. She definitely has an F-type installed. 2 boxes and some Ethernet to bridge. Here you go. It cost 4 to 5 times less than the 1 box. This lady was my first ever customer service meltdown experience. They start yelling about being sold 3 things for less. Jeebus is testing me, but I can do this, so lacking customer service experience, I thought they wanted even cheaper. I walk her to a 1-object option that's 10 times cheaper than the whole router, an F-type NIC for inside the computer, and a driver's CD for her specific computer. She's familiar with it, she doesn't want it. She had it on her old computer in the 90s. Nope, she doesn't want it and goes into a nuclear meltdown. She throws the modem, both routers, and NIC at me and held the Ethernet cable like a whip. She pushes a display over and security rushes over and explains that I don't work there. That made things even worse and I just backed away watching some 80-year-old trying to go Hulk on a bolted down shelf and then incidentally just bump a 6'6" tall security guard instead of pushing him down. All the while the guard saying, "They don't work here, what is your problem?" I can't believe this 80-year-old grandma just went full nerd ninja with a Ethernet cable whip and using anything she can as projectiles. Get off my stairs. This was a long time ago. Think mid-80s. I was in college and lived on campus in the dorms. Now, like most colleges do, there were buildings on campus that were available to rent for various purposes. And on this particular weekend, it seems that our big auditorium had been rented out to one of those groups in the 80s that were very popular for teaching you self-confidence techniques and then roping you into marketing the classes to all your friends. I was leaving our gym building, directly across the street from said auditorium, and heading back to my dorm one Saturday when I was unexpectedly accosted by a middle-aged woman. "You can't be here," she told me, stabbing a finger at me. "What?" I said, rather bemused. I'd lived on campus for going on 3 years now. This was my home. "You can't be here. This is private property. Get out." I believe I replied along the lines of, "The freak?" I was only developing my potty mouth at the time and had not yet evolved it to today's standards. "How dare you? Don't you use such language? You're on my property." "The heck, lady? Who are you?" I knew who the president of the college was. This wasn't her. None of the instructors would make that kind of claim even if they were around on a Saturday. And about now, I spotted the lanyard around her neck that identified her as one of the attendees of the class across the street. "Don't you question me? You're on my property. You have no rights to be here. Leave now." Now, she'd been clearly working her way up to this. It was kind of like watching a kettle build up a head of steam, except she was starting to sag a little, because I was not reacting the way she was expecting. "Got news for you, chickie," I said. "Technically, you're on my property. I live here. Do you even know the name for this building?" I gestured at the gym. She started to look like a deer in headlights and her eyes are darting around looking for a sign. It happened to be up over her head, so she totally missed it. "Where's your student ID card? Who the F do you think you are coming up to a stranger and claiming to own the goddarn place?" Her head kinda shrunk down a little onto her neck and she started sliding nervously towards the auditorium across the street. "Oh, so you're one of those a-holes. You're on my turf. Go on, get out of here. Go scurry back to your redacted dumb shoot redacted group before I get you kicked off my campus, mother F." And at this point, I began to hone my potty mouth skills as she scurried off into the auditorium, completely deflated. Come to find out that this self-help group in particular was notorious for pumping up their attendees and then sending them out to confront random strangers as some bizarre form of confidence builder. Just her bad luck that she met bad attitude me. Well, that's definitely one way to have the opposite effect of confidence building. I may work in security, but I'm not this store's security. When I get off work, I like to go to the store since it is on the way to my home. I go and normally get what I want to eat that night. Well, 2 days ago I was shopping and I saw a kid, maybe 12, stuff games down his shirt. I went on shopping as I don't work there. 10 minutes afterwards, the store's loss prevention comes up screaming at me about how I didn't report this to them and that I need to report this stuff instantly with a radio. I look at the loss prevention officer, told them not to yell at me and that I don't work here. Then went about shopping. Next thing I know is the store manager comes up and yells at me, telling me that I need to do my job as security. Yes, I was in uniform. No, I do not work for the company they hire. I point to my patch stating the company I work for. The store manager apologized and gave me $10 off my $50 purchase from the hassle. I have not seen the loss prevention guy since. I also don't go to that store anymore. I think it's unfortunate that this experience soured the store for OP, because it sounded like it was a convenient place to go. Sorry, sir, I'm not the one foreclosing on your house. I work for a small financial services office and our company has the same name as several other businesses, both in our area and in other parts of the country, so misdials are common. 99% of the time, callers are understanding of the fact that they called the wrong business and it's not an issue. However, last year I got a call from an elderly man, EM, that went like this. "X company, this is OP. How can I help you today?"
"Hi, I need to speak to whoever in your office has the audacity to try and foreclose on my house."
"I'm sorry, sir, but we're not a bank and don't have any relation to any home loans. I believe you've contacted the wrong company.
I'm in the hospital right now on bed rest and I can't believe you aren't being more understanding of my situation. I need to speak to someone who can actually help me if you're not going to."
Again, we don't have anything to do with your mortgage. Our business is not a bank and we do not issue or process any loans. I can help you find the correct number for the bank you're trying to reach, but that is the extent of what we can do.
You idiot! If you're going to act this clueless, then let me speak to your manager. I'm sure he'll be able to help me out.
I forwarded him to my manager and explained the situation, warning that he was being rude. My manager starts trying to be reasonable at first, but eventually starts raising his voice, explaining that even if we had anything to do with his loan, the way that the elderly man was speaking to both me and my manager was unacceptable, and told him to never call our office again. We both felt a little bad for the man since it was clear he was a confused old man, but boy was it frustrating. For me, I feel bad for both sides, because I hate seeing elderly people having bad situations like this. They mentioned they were on bed rest, they obviously have issues with loans, you hate to see that. On the other hand, you do feel bad for OP in the customer service side where they have to put up with this and deal with this despite the situation. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is, which of these stories was your personal favorite of the day and why? Let me know which story and why in the comments section down below. And thank you all so very much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video from the Storytime channel. Thank you all again so very much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.